it from the start.
I thought you were host as well, but somebody else is co-host on it. It's now recording. Is it now recording? It's now recording. We'll get Will to edit out that bit at the beginning. Right. Good morning, everybody. I am not going to spend very long this morning introducing everybody because we've got quite a packed agenda and really want to get some discussion going around what's been happening out there in the world of careers. So as I said at the beginning, I'm Siobhan Flynn. I'm the local and Solent Local Enterprise Partnerships Skills Lead and also Careers Hub Lead. And I think first up, I'm going to hand over to Chloe to give a bit of an update. Is that okay, Chloe?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Again, just conscious of time, guys, so I'm not going to take too much. We've just got a few things just to update on. As I say, hopefully all of you are receiving our newsletters. If you're not, please do let us know via your enterprise coordinator, or after the meeting, just drop us a line with the feedback just to say that you're actually not receiving our updates. But hopefully the CRM is on track and you're getting all of that as well. Just a gentle reminder to schools and colleges, obviously Compass returns. If you can fill that in for this term, that would be absolutely fab. Obviously Compass Plus as well, and I've been speaking to some of my schools about that and transitioning onto that. That is still available. If you want to find out more from your enterprise coordinator, or there's something that we can't help with around GDPR and the Careers Enterprise Company, we're more than happy to help you. The fully funded level 6 and level 7 careers leader training, the deadline to apply for that is today. So it's a bit short. We have sent that out in the newsletter, but again, if you want to send that, if you want to obviously apply for that, then you can.
I got my certificate yesterday.
Oh, fab, John. There you go. You can
all done.
Basically, John is saying, if anyone's got any questions, ask him. Can you, John Lomas, you've just put that you can't hear. Is this me that you can't hear, John? I don't know if you can hear any of us. Am I okay to everyone? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, we can hear you okay, Chloe.
Fab, thanks, Rosie. And obviously, going back to sort of careers leader training, there is the online resources that you can use. Again, we're encouraging sort of SLT members to get involved with that, governors that can be shared with, and so on and so forth. So that is still available online to access through the Careers Enterprise Company website. Solent-wide events, so the Careers and Apprenticeship Show, I'm sure you've been drummed in from local authorities, us, many other people, that is happening on the 20th of May. Again, we will send the link around for signing up to that after this meeting today. Speakers for schools, virtual work experience opportunities that we have available. Again, that came out in the newsletter earlier this week, but if you do have any questions about that, please do contact us. Send update, just so I've been passed on from Sarah. So the CEC, SENCOs and SEND Careers Leaders half-termly meetings are on the 4th of May and the 7th of July. Registration via the CEC link. Skills Builder and Solent send project launch meeting on the 29th of April. That's 3:30 till 4:30. There's Talentino resources available, which again, we'll send that out to you. The Solent send community of practice meetings on the 25th of May at 3:30 till 4:30. Agenda will be circulated the week before. And also save the date for the 19th of May, 1 till 3, the South Central SEND Careers Leader Conference. Again, that will be circulated prior to the event if you are interested. If anyone is directly, obviously in a mainstream school, but are interested in talking a bit more in detail about SEND, I know that I've put a couple of my schools in contact with Sarah, and Sarah's here and she's really happy to speak to you in more detail about that, the opportunities and the resources and meetings, etc., that you can access through the SEND practice. Again, just around communications and resources, if you aren't receiving any comms from us, please do shout and let us know, because you should be receiving newsletters on a regular basis and hearing from us. Just a quick update on Siobhan's behalf on the local skills strategy. So the Solent Let will be publishing the Solent Skills strategy this week, an action plan report. This is building on the evidence base published in June of last year. The Solent's economic recovery plan published last autumn. So this sets out the strategic priorities and actions for the area. We have themed the approach under 4 interconnected strategic priorities, which form the basis of a more detailed action plan. Apologies, my dog in the background. So this is awareness and aspirations, brokerage, match and supply with demand, core sectors and competencies, and digital inclusion. And obviously the continuation of the Enterprise Advisor Network and Solent's Careers Hub remains central to the work of that. I've also been updated from Lorna. So sorry, my dog is going mad at a cat. Maritime update for that, but I've got lots of links to different resources, videos, short, longer videos, apprenticeship interviews, but I will circulate that after the meeting with links for that. But that's pretty much it from me. If anyone's got any questions. I apologise on behalf of my dog.
Just to say, actually, we'll be publishing the skills strategy today, actually, because that's the deadline is today. So if I jump off screen, it's because I'm still having to do final amends, etc. to the actual published document. So,
do you know where we can access that?
Pardon?
Sorry, I was going to say, do you know where we can access it?
It will be on our website.
It will be.
We also do, yeah, and we can send a link round when it's with notes and everything coming out of this meeting. Yeah, no, I would say that sort of, you know, working with the work that you guys do in terms of preparing young people for the world of work is a theme that sort of hopefully threads through the entire document. So I hope you will see this sort of read across into the you know, core skills and competencies and digital capabilities. So yes, and it will be the overarching strategic framework for the area. It's not just a LEP document; it really is for the area. So, moving on, Chloe, have you done your...
Yeah, that's sort of the update. As I say, anything from anyone, please let us know. We are now passing on to Rosie. I don't know if Rosie's lost connection, has she? I think she's trying to reconnect. Who's going to do a bit of a Careers Hub Fund update. Obviously, you're all aware that we did launch the Careers Hub Fund a month or so ago. I'm trying to think what we're in now. We're nearly in April, and which had quite a small timescale period to apply for it. Rosie's going to give you a bit of an update because we will be relaunching the Careers Hub Fund. We will be reopening that because I know that there were some schools and colleges within the hub that didn't get opportunity to access the funds. So she's just going to give you a short update on what that looks like, how you can apply for it, and all of the T's and C's around that. But I don't think Rose is on the call. Right. It looks like we've got huge IT issues this morning, everyone.
Is the presentation in the folder?
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Do you want me to see if I can access it and whilst Rosie's trying to...
Yeah, if you can, Siobhan, yeah.
Bear with.
The other thing we could do, I'm just thinking about the agenda, maybe if we go with one of our guest speakers first and then we can slot Rosie in between.
I think so, yeah.
Yep, so I can't, hang on, I can't get, who's next on the agenda, Siobhan?
Next on the agenda, we've got too many things open. It will be Sarah Holmes, who's going to talk to us about traineeships.
Hello. I have a bit of a problem and I can't share my screen this morning. I have sent my slides over. Is anyone able to share?
I can do that, yeah, within the folder.
Thank you.
I can see actually it might be easier if I make you temporarily co-host and then you'll be able to see if I can do that, might be quicker.
You'll need to do that for me as well, Siobhan.
Yes, I will do.
Or you can just drive it all for us.
You haven't seen my driving. Right, I've made you temporarily co-host, Sarah, so you should be able to share your screen. That's probably quicker, given time is precious.
It's still not letting me.
Okay, right.
Sorry.
No, not at all. Poor old Rosie is obviously stuck. I can't read my link.
I'm happy to do it without slides, but it just might be easier for everyone.
No, that's fine. I think we will be, here we go. Fairham College presentation, I've got it out, so.
Perfect, thank you.
I shall share, well, it's opening. It's opening very slowly. By the time we get to yours, Simon, we'll be fine. There we go.
All right. Any other business?
Bear with it, it's just opening up.
No worries.
I've learned over the over the sort of last year that I just have to be patient when the circle goes, otherwise you just end up like this.
Yeah, absolutely. What I'll do is, whilst it's out, so I work in Sarah Holmes, I work in the Business Plus department, and I kind of wear two hats really. So I look after apprentices from a recruitment, HR, sales perspective, but I'm the lead coach for the traineeship program. So we deliver trainees across the college. I think it's just starting to share. Does that come up for it? Oh, there we go. Perfect. I don't know if you want to do it as a.
You just tell me to click on each time.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So so that's me. So if you're happy to go to the second slide. Yeah. So yeah, just kind of in a nutshell, really, the traineeships that we offer currently in the South East are available to 16 to 24-year-olds, 25 if they've got an EHCP. They are available for learners who are qualified up to and including a level 3. And basically it's that we offer short courses. So they're typically 10 weeks, and that includes 6 weeks kind of in the classroom with us, and then a 4-week work experience with a work placement provider. They do run Monday to Friday, and the hours are typically kind of 9 till 4-ish. And we also include functional skills for anyone that needs it, which is English and maths. So we'll do an initial assessment with the learners, and then we will deliver according to their requirements, basically. The current courses that we have live are a digital skills qualification, which I'll talk you through in a second, and a construction, which again I'll talk you through in a second. And then we have 2 other courses that are just going live now, which again I'll go through in a second. We actually at Ferrum, we actually pay the learners for their travel expenses, and we've done this even if they've been in lockdown. We've done it as a bit of an incentive, really. So they get £64.50 a week to attend, and that doesn't impact their benefits. So if they're receiving benefits, they can still receive that and get the £64.50 from us. Okay, and then we've got kind of regular start dates throughout the year. So it's approximately about every 7 weeks we have more cohorts of learners joining us. So our next one is the 19th of April. April. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Next slide. Oh. There we go, perfect. So the digital skills one, people do get a little bit confused about this and think it's just IT and IT qualification. And actually the content is quite different to that. So yes, it's computer based, but the actual content of what they're learning about, so we create CVs, covering letters with them, we'll do interview workshops, they learn about kind of informal and formal tones in emails and writing a professional email. GDPR, there's a big unit on that, how to format text. So generally kind of Word, Microsoft Office use, basically. Staying safe online and protecting your online identity. That's kind of the content in a nutshell, really. So as I say, yes, it's computer based, but it's not learning about how to use specifically a computer or focused on IT. It's much more about kind of their employability and setting them up to be able to be in the workplace, basically. So we find that a lot of people that are interested in business admin, HR, we have a lot of typically speaking younger guys that come onto the digital course because they want to go self-employed in the future, and actually this teaches them a lot about that as well. So we might have people interested in construction. It's a real mixed bag, the digital one. And then the construction one, which is just on slide 4. when it wants to move. There we go. So the construction one, we're running this is our newest one that we're running, and the first, so we have similar courses that run, but this is the first construction traineeship, and that covers health and safety awareness, general construction skills. It's based in at our CTEC site, employability, and they do CS training. They get a CSCS trainee card, which if they complete, that will turn into a green card. So that's quite a good incentive for the learners as well. And that just covers everything construction basically. And then again, that includes a work experience placement of 4 weeks, but that's definitely going to be within construction. Whereas our digital one is, their work placements can be in childcare, it could be in hospitality, although not at the moment. They could be in HR, accountancy, you know, a wide range of motor vehicle, stuff like that. And then additionally, we have 2 new courses that are live on our website. They don't have start dates attached to them yet. They have a show your interest. The reason for that is we're just waiting on numbers basically. So we have learners enrolled for digital and construction, albeit obviously we always want and need more. But the additional courses in customer services and warehouse and logistics, because they're brand new and haven't gone live yet, we're just waiting for a few more learners to come on to those courses. So what we're sort of saying to everyone is giving them the choice, so they can either go on to one of the live courses, i.e. digital or construction, or if they're happy to wait, they can wait a couple of weeks for those start dates to be announced. And then I've just included a couple of sort of success stories really, which we got permission from the learners to include. So we started running traineeships in September, and we have, I would say the majority of our learners have gone on to successfully either get an apprenticeship from their work placement, or have been able to add that work placement to their CV and get themselves go into either another course or further a job themselves, or they've been given actual contracts with their work placement provider as a full-time employee or 0 hours contract or something similar, which I think for us in the middle of the pandemic has been really successful. So Mia, she was one of our very first trainees. She actually had a placement within our Business Plus office alongside a couple of other learners at the time, and she was successful in securing the apprenticeship with us, which she's doing incredibly well. Erin, she was one of our cohort 1 learners as well, actually. In fact, I think all 3 of these are, and she's gone on to do she's actually now an apprentice of mine, so I teach her on her recruitment apprenticeship. So her workplace, where she had a work experience, offered her a placement, a permanent apprenticeship. And then Ibrahim, he completed his work placement and got offered a full-time job as well. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. Does anyone have any questions? I've been seeing things pop up, but I think they're being answered. I'm just trying to click on the chat. So how do students apply? So basically they just go onto the Fareham College website. I can see Steph here. So Steph and our amazing careers team, what happens is the learner goes onto the website, they apply for the traineeship, and then Steph and her team kind of take that learner through the initial recruitment process and then book them into an assessment day, which is where they meet with my team from a delivery perspective, and they get to meet the coaches, make sure the course is right for them, hear it from us kind of thing. They do their English and maths initial assessment, and we confirm all their start dates. So it's, the feedback we've got is that it's, a touch wood, a very straightforward application process. So yeah, it's just about hopping onto the website and clicking apply basically. Does anyone else have any questions?
I was going to say, I'm going to say perhaps we hear from HTP as well, so then there might be some questions from general ones around traineeships.
Sure.
Also, thank you very much, Sarah.
No worries.
I've now had the time in the interim to get Simon's presentation uploaded.
Are you going to? Okay, you're going to run mine too, then, yeah.
Shall I do that? That might be easier, isn't it?
That's absolutely fine. So, while Siobhan's sharing that, then, so if I do the same, because I am conscious of time, and I know there's another webinar that some of you may be joining at 10 because they've changed the time for that. So yeah, my name's Simon Natural. I head up the business development team, recruitment lead for HTP Apprenticeship College. So we're slightly different. We're an independent private training company. Head office is Isle of Wight, but then we have office in Portsmouth at Lakeside. So we cover the whole of the south, try and keep within a couple of hours of Portsmouth. Provision is around full-time courses on the Isle of Wight, then predominantly apprenticeships. And then obviously now we've been into traineeships for some time. So I'll try and cover off some of the bits that, because I was conscious that Sarah's going to be speaking as well, so I didn't want sort of two identical presentations. So I'll try and pick up some of the perhaps the strategic-y bits, and then I will come on to our model, which is just very, very slightly different. So really, do you want to share the? Oh, is
it sharing now?
It's sharing, but only the small screens, and even with my glasses, I'm going to struggle to see my notes.
Let's just do that.
That's fine. Okay, so just to give sort of a bit of the background to traineeships, and I think this is really important because we're very much used to the sort of traditional sort of college type offer and apprenticeships, but actually traineeships have been around since 2013, so they're kind of eight years old, and they kind of sit in between that gap between full-time study and the apprenticeship. So it's a great sort of hybrid course. And I think what's really come out of this year or last year when the Chancellor announced the additional sort of funding around traineeships is that I think part of the sort of getting everybody back into work on the back of COVID, it's really important to think that traineeships are being expanded. And I think the key thing with traineeships, they've always been seen as perhaps that sort of very, very, starting point for people that have never gone into work. But I think what's strategically important out of this is that, yes, we've got the Kickstart program, but actually for, traineeships can be used very much now for people that are looking to change their careers. It's not just about people who are actually starting off green. So if you've had someone that's sort of trained in one area of work but wants to then try something else, it's really important to, that they can use the traineeship for this. So in true Chris Whitty style, can I have the next slide, please? As part of his plan, the government have announced these additional places. I think it's 30,000 places, and we, as a training provider, we haven't had AEB budget, adult education budget, for a little while, so we had to apply for that, and we were one of a number of providers in the region to be successful for that. So that does mean that we have now got provision from 16 right up to 24, but it can be up to 25, as Sarah said, if someone does have an education healthcare plan. And I think the difference for us as being an independent training provider, we've kind of switched it around. So we've been doing our traineeships employer-led. So our learners go out into the work placement, and actually what we wanted to do before we started offering traineeships is get the employers on board. Most of our delivery will be in the workplace, so we're kind of finding opportunities with employers and then matching the young people to that. And the advantage for the employers that's changed this year is that they now can receive £1,000 for a successful work placement, and the employers can have up to 10. So we've gone down that route, and what we're seeing is that they're utilising that money either to support wages, in the future as they go perhaps onto an apprenticeship, to support costs that they're incurring, or they can actually use it to offset some of the wages of maybe one of the mentors within the organisation that that they're utilising to upskill these new people. But the idea is that traineeships have really got to link over to the labour market. And we're working closely with job centres across the region as well. Can I have next slide, Siobhan? Might have to go on 2 because I think I've just talked through one that you can't see. I think that's probably the one I've just been talking through. So for us, the areas of our provision, as you can imagine, health and social care really important, and it's on the back of COVID, I have to say it's been fantastic to see that actually it's a sector that has become much more appealing for people to go and work in. They can see the rewards that are coming out of it. So that's good. Business administration is a sort of steady one for us. Hospitality and tourism is one that's going to be interesting because we're already seeing employers wanting to come on board with that. They know that they're starting to open up from April outside, and then they'll be fully opened up in May. And I know that there's going to be demand for chefs and front of house staff. Childcare and education, we're doing some work with some schools, which is quite interesting, where again on the back of COVID, schools have identified that they might need more help in classrooms. So we're actually running some teaching assistant, where we've got some teaching assistant traineeships starting after Easter, and they're going to use the summertime to do the traineeship with a view that then hopefully in September they will pick up and start the apprenticeship. Customer service is really broad. And as I said at the beginning, this is employer-led, and it's us about being proactive with our recruitment. I think actually, considering the number of young people that are out of work, I think that's still going to be engaging the young people is going to be our biggest challenge to this. But for us, we have an agreement with the learners and the employers before they come onto programme, what that traineeship is going to look like. It's incredibly flexible, and I've said there, it is about the young person. So the program that we put together is about matching the young person, matching the employer that they go and work with. We put together this work placement program, which looks at what employability skills are they going to be developing. It's about building confidence, becoming reliable, becoming dependable, developing patience. And then they do a round of vocational and technical skills. So looking at, communication, it might be health and safety, depending what they need for the job role that they're going in. And then, of course, there are some outcomes that they've got to achieve. Sarah's has talked about digital skills, which is definitely one of the big areas, for the government across all sectors, not just about young people. So digital skills is really important for young people. So that's an excellent opportunity. And then we can tailor the qualifications for the depending on the employer and where they're going to go into. But work experience is centre to our part of it. So again, as the slide says, how do you apply? We've obviously got the website. Phone me. Don't necessarily rate. If you've got young people that want support, our offer, as always, is just put the young person in touch with us, and then we will pick up with them and then work with them on a one-to-one basis. So any questions for both of us?
I've got a question for you, Simon, if that's okay.
Of course, Trudy.
You say it's the young person would spend most of the time in their placement, is that right?
Yes, that's the model that we use, yes.
But does that mean that, because I'm up in Eastleigh, does that mean that students from as far as Eastleigh can engage?
Technically, yeah. Our contract is for South West. We've got some provision down into Dorset if we want to, but also South East. Chloe, I can hear your dog from here. South West and South East, but yes, Eastleigh is not a problem.
Thank you.
Any more questions? No, lovely, right. In which case, now that we've got the lovely Rosie back, I shall see if I can share your presentation. Would that be the easiest thing to do, Rosie?
Yes, or I can try and do it myself. I do have it here.
You do have it there. Well, you try first then.
You try, yeah. I'm so sorry, everyone, for that. I do apologise. Just as I think I went to speak, the connection went. So I hope I don't go again. Let's give this a go. Share screen. Right, so that should be shared. If you could just let me know. Siobhan, can you see that?
Not yet.
No.
I can see it, Rosie, if that helps. I don't know if anyone else can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
can
can
see it,
see it.
Rosie. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I will begin then. Perfect. So just wanted to take this opportunity to, obviously we're providing an update from the team, but also wanted to update you on the Careers Hub Fund. So we did launch the 2020-2021 Careers Hub Fund during our last meeting in January, and it has been very busy indeed. As part of this fund, there was the caveat, of course, that anyone who had an outstanding fund for 2019-2020, so that's the last year, that had to be finalised. So I just wanted to say first and foremost, thank you to everyone who did have an outstanding grant and worked really closely with us to get that tied up, because I know there were quite a few of you, and maybe a few of you weren't even expecting to have to kind of do any more work on this, but we really do appreciate all your time. Most of them are now tied up, which is amazing, because this enables you to apply for future funding. So we do still have a couple of schools with an outstanding 2019-20 grant. Luckily, these are mostly in hand, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to remind you, if you do have an outstanding one, in order to apply for any future funding, then please let's just finalise that and get it done. As an update, for those who applied to round one of the 2020-2021 Careers Hub funds, you would have received an answer by now, and we're pleased to say that those successful applicants, we have received confirmation from the Portsmouth City Council legal team, who are issuing the grant letters, that they will be sent out this week. So I know a few of you had received your emails saying that you've been successful and you wanted to kind of have a bit of a time frame. So I'm pleased to confirm that you will be receiving the grant letters this week, so you can then proceed with buying what you're buying with the fund. If you could just check your junk folders, because occasionally we have had emails pop up in there, so just want to make sure that you're checking those and that they don't go missed. And the last thing here is that today we're pleased to be launching round two. So I know a few of you weren't able to apply for round one this year due to the outstanding grant from last year. So we really wanted to make sure that everyone was, given the opportunity to apply for this funding. So we have been able to launch round two, which is amazing. So just wanted to go over a few kind of bullet points of view. Essentially, round two is the exact same as round one, which I'm sure you've had loads of information about in our newsletters and our previous meetings. It's also on our Careers Hub website. So if you do go away after this and you're not so familiar with it, then you can go and look that up. But I'll just go over a few kind of key bullet points here. So the same criteria, you can either apply for a resource grant up to £1,000 per school or college, or an innovation grant, and that is between £3,000 and £5,000 per school or college, but that's usually if you're working collaboratively on a much larger project than the resource grants. This time around, you'll have a 6-week application window, which
I don't know if anybody can hear me because I've lost audio. Oh, you can. I can't hear anybody else. So the only way I knew that had stopped, so Rosie had come to the end of her presentation, was because she stopped screen sharing. Chloe, can you introduce the next section, please? Because I can't hear anything.
Right, okay. So sorry, hang on 2 seconds.
So next, we're going to hear from Trudy at Eastleigh College, who's going to cover some of the, I'm back now, I can hear now. We're going to, it's going to cover a little bit about what the college has done around working with employers in a virtual environment. I think we felt that, you know, this year has been unprecedented in terms of the way that schools and colleges have had to sort of change their offer and adapt to the pandemic conditions. But out of some of this work, I think some really good innovative practices happened. So Trudy's going to sort of kick off with a presentation on the things that they've been doing at the college, and then I think we are moving into breakout rooms to sort of just have a chance everybody to have a discussion around that sort of virtual experience piece. So over to you. Shall I see if I can, now that I'm back, I'll see if I can share your presentation.
Yeah, thanks.
Let's see. It should be up. Is that it? There with it up on my screen, but it's not. Sorry, I can't. Is that it? No, I can't. It's not coming up on my screen.
Can you set it so I can share?
I'll do that. I'll do that a bit quicker. Sorry. Where are you? There you are. You're now co-host.
Okay. Can everyone see the screen, the slides? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I was just asked to talk about how we've been using virtual means in terms of employer engagement at Eastleigh College. So I focused mainly on Careers Week, but I will touch on Apprenticeship Week as well, because we made quite a big deal of those weeks, as we always do at Eastleigh College. The first thing I want to say is employers, in our experience, have been really happy to engage in virtual activities. They tend to find this a little bit easier than taking time out of their work to come into the college. We've had some really sort of interesting feedback around that. But yeah, we found that they've been really engaging, even those that are actually furloughed and struggling themselves in their own businesses have been really good at engaging with us. So that's been really positive. How we work at Eastleigh, we have a bank of employers that we use regularly for careers fairs. So we tend to use similar employers every year, and then that expands as we go through. But also, you know, we quite often put things out on LinkedIn and speak to tutors about whether they've got other contacts. And we get a lot of new contacts through those means as well. And I don't know about the rest of you that work in colleges, but I get approached a lot by employers who ask if they can help or can they advertise a job with us or whatever. So I tend to keep note of who they are, so that I've got a little bank of employers to keep in contact with. What we did this year, though, that was a little bit different, was we actually used some personal contacts as well. So I'll talk a little bit more about the themes that we were using for Careers Week, but we managed to get some friends involved that live in different parts of the country, because of course when things are virtual it doesn't matter where in the world you are. So friends that have got sort of particularly interesting jobs that, you know, the youngsters might not have heard of before, or have had a particularly interesting career journey, we were able to tap into those as well, because it didn't matter where they lived. They were able to talk about their experiences, and they're quite popular as well. Where possible, you know, we'd like to host live because that allows for that interaction with the youngsters asking questions and things like that. But that isn't always the case because of people's jobs. So we did do some pre-recordings, but do what you can that fits around the employer, and the employer will kind of guide you with that, because if they can do it live, then they will, but otherwise most of them are happy to pre-record something in advance. In my experience, keep the sessions short. 20 minutes is probably about enough for young people to engage listening to someone on a screen. Obviously it can be a bit longer than that, but keep sessions short. And you know, the great thing about the live sessions, as I've said, does allow for that student and employer interaction. And we've been really lucky in that our learners have been really engaging with asking questions and stuff. So that's been really positive. We did things slightly different this year. Because we knew Apprenticeship Week and Careers Week wouldn't run in the normal way. What we did is we did a survey through the tutorials with the students to get them to tell us what they would expect from Careers and Apprenticeship Week under the current circumstances. And the themes that came through, I've put on the board there. So obviously lots around COVID and the impact of COVID, how the lack of work experience will impact employability, how that will affect jobs that likely be available, and you know, how they might be able to improve their employability moving forward. That was a really useful exercise because that helped us to kind of plan what activities we could run over Careers and Apprenticeships weeks and sort of ongoing, as opposed to us thinking, trying to guess what it is that they would like to think. So that was a really useful exercise, and we got some really good feedback from that. So going back to the Careers Week, as I said, we conducted that survey. We'd had already done a successful National Apprenticeship Week, although it was a lot smaller. I'll talk about that in a minute. What we normally do during Careers Week is host a big careers fair. We decided this year it was going to be too complicated to do that because all our students are in at different times and all that kind of stuff. So, and I'm not very tech savvy, so I was a bit nervous about doing a virtual careers fair. So we scrapped that idea and went basically on focusing on those themes that the learners wanted from those surveys. So we focused on how the labour market is changing, and wanted to offer a variety of activities that suits our broad curriculum, because obviously we do have such a broad curriculum at Eastleigh College, and focus on that point of the fact that skills, that careers are a journey, you know, that learners aren't necessarily going to get the job of their dreams from the moment they leave college. We really wanted to focus on that, you know, the whole idea of the world of work is you might start something and then you might learn about something else and then you might build skills up to something else and then your career journey takes off that way. So that's how we wanted to theme Careers Week. Excuse me, I'm just going to shut my window because someone's car washing outside. I can't hear anything. Right. Before I talk more about that, I want to talk about getting learners engaged, because that can be quite difficult, particularly as we were then, everything was completely remote. We did a lot of advertising out to all learners and all curriculum staff. I'm very privileged at Eastleigh College that I have a really supportive SMT. So I got into SMT and curriculum management meetings and really pushed it. I only gave them a couple of weeks notice. It wasn't a huge amount of notice that they had. But luckily for me, you know, they do get the option of coming slightly off timetable to access some of these activities, which is really helpful. And we wanted to remind the learners that the activities that we'd put on were based on the information they had given us. So, you know, they kind of took ownership of it because we were running activities that they kind of said that they wanted. We also pushed Gatsby benchmarks across curriculum quite hard at Eastleigh College. So, you know, telling the curriculum staff exactly which Gatsby benchmarks each activity was relevant for, which seems to work. And although we only gave a couple of weeks proper advertising of the actual activities, Careers and Apprenticeship Weeks are put in the college calendar well in advance, so they know that these activities are going to come up. They just don't know what the activities vacancies are until reasonably last minute. And what we also do at college is we get learners to register in advance. So what we don't do is just give them the links to all the activities so that they can just tap in what they want. We get them to register, and that's so that we can keep sending them reminders, and that tends to work better than just letting it be a bit of a free for all. And also it allows us to record who's engaging in what. So this is what we did for Apprenticeships Week. Oops. Sorry. Yeah, so this is what we did for Apprenticeships Week. This is our timetable. It was a little bit smaller than our Careers Week, which I'll come on to in a minute. But just to give you some idea of some of the things that we focused on during Apprenticeship Week, which is in February. So the idea of Apprenticeship Week, from my point of view, obviously we have an apprenticeships team that do their own thing with kind of external agencies and external means. I do everything internally for our learners. We got Ask involved to run some introduction sessions and some application sessions. We had Solent Hub involved for a Q&A session with parents to talk specifically about, you know, any questions that they might have, and that was during the evening. We did a couple of sessions on degree and higher education apprenticeships. So one was through Ask and one was through the University of Portsmouth, so that students could get a view from a university point of view as well as a more general overview. We got the police involved because they were doing a recruitment campaign at the time for their degree apprenticeships. So they talked about those. Same with the NHS and with Interqual, who were doing a bit of a recruitment campaign at the time, so that learners could find out more about apprenticeships in those areas and how to apply. We also did some stuff around traineeships, and we used Hampshire Futures, just because they're our nearest training provider that week. But I thought it was really important for learners to learn more about what traineeships were, so that they could understand the difference between traineeship and apprenticeship and how that might be a complementary qualification going forward, if they're not quite ready for apprenticeship yet or whatever. And then of course we had BMJV talking about constructions apprenticeships as well. So that was Apprenticeship Week, and as I said, that was a really successful week. We had a lot of engagement during that week with learners, so that kind of gave us some confidence to move forward with Careers Week and make it a little bit bigger. So this is our Careers Week timetable, which is significantly bigger than our Apprenticeships Week one. Those sessions that you see with an R next to them, they were actually pre-recorded sessions. Where possible, we would still get the employer involved in those live, so they would be there in the most part to answer questions. That wasn't in every case, but in some of the cases it was. So we just played the video and then they were available for questions at the end, or we were able to put questions to them afterwards if they weren't available at that time. So we did a real mix. We focused on some of the common themes, such as paediatric nursing, teaching, rehab therapist, construction and stuff like that, and maritime, obviously. But we also focused on some of the other things that the learners had mentioned in those learner surveys. So, you know, things around how COVID is going to affect them moving forward, for example. So we really thought outside the box this year. As you can see on Tuesday, we've got Tuesday afternoon, we've got quite a few sessions that were around that more generalised, you know, skills, looking for jobs, and the government plans. So the recognising how valuable you are skills, that was by Vivid Housing, who did a talk that they normally do to their own residents, but they did it to our students, about recognising that, you know, regardless of what you've been doing over lockdown, you probably are picking up skills, doing something you've never done before, and how valuable that can be. And that was really useful. And then we had Job Centre Plus join us for looking for jobs in a post-COVID labour market. That was a really positive session as well. So they were talking about how the labour market has changed in Eastleigh and the surrounding boroughs, where the jobs are, the types of industries that have been most affected and least affected. And they've made it really positive in that they talked about that career journey and understanding that if your job isn't advertised now, what can you be looking at to gain those skills to move forward in that job later? You know, it might be that you get a job that to get a driving license, you know, save money to get driving lessons and driving license, or pick up particular skills, and then you move forward. So that was a really positive session as well. And then the 3 p.m. one on the Tuesday, that was actually with our local MP. What we wanted to do is we wanted to give the learners a platform to really put those difficult questions to the government. You know, they've been hearing stuff through the news and whatever for a long time. So we asked our local MP to get involved and you know, be the person to answer some of their questions around COVID and Brexit, actually. And he was really keen to get involved, although unsurprisingly asked for it to be pre-recorded rather than live session. I'm not very surprised at that. So what we did is we organised a time for it to be recorded, and we went back into the tutorials and said to the students, you know, what questions do you want to ask government or your local MP? And we had some really great questions that we were able to put forward to the MP. And my colleague Jess did an interview which was recorded, and then we played that out as well. So that was a really positive session, looking at the labour market and being able to answer those questions, because we wanted to make sure that we're not ignoring the elephant in the room that is COVID, and you know, that there is an impact on learners that are going to be leaving us this year and that kind of stuff. And we also did more stuff around recognising our strengths and had Ask involved with those. We did stuff around mental health. So we got a former Eastleigh College student actually who now runs their own mental health organisation. So he did a talk as well and talked about positive mental health. We did a couple of sessions around running your own business, because that's something that we get asked about a lot and we don't do a huge amount with normally. So we had a couple of examples of people who run their own business and sharing their experiences with the young learners about how to move forward. And we had, we were joined by Hampshire Futures, Saints Foundation, Enham Trust, to talk about alternative provisions as well, so that learners were, you know, they were informed of what else is out there. It's not just job, university, college, you know, that there are alternative provisions out there as well. And yeah, and then obviously there's some other themes around particular career industries as well. But we also put in some pre-recorded sessions around people's career paths. So people that have gone on to do really well in their careers over time, they start from kind of here and then kind of escalated up here through whatever means and ways, and those who started, you know, really not knowing what they wanted to do when they were 16, 17, and are now have settled in careers, but have had lots of different careers in between, and how that's okay too. And I know Lorna was involved in one of those sessions, so thank you, Lorna. But we really mixed it up this year. We got lots of information from those learners about what they wanted, which helped them to engage more in our activities, in our experience. So that's how we did it this year. So this is how the official booking site looked, because as I said, we get them to book. So the students had to, it was advertised out, and then they booked online or by emailing the careers team. And yeah, that was a really successful way of us knowing who to keep chasing up and send the links to, as well as us recording who's attended what and that kind of stuff. So just to give some idea of how we were advertising it. So this is a snippet from our weekly brief. So we have a weekly brief that goes out every week to all curriculum staff. And basically every day I would put in stuff that's coming up on those days with a little bit of information about it. That just gave some context to perhaps some of the titles that they would have seen. So just give some examples of those. Just some photos. Obviously, there's not a lot to take photos of during virtual stuff, but that's just some of the ideas that we've got in. So the first picture is the MP. So my colleague Jess interviewing the MP, and we had Bright Horizons, who were doing a bit of a recruitment campaign at the time for health and social care. sorry, for childcare. Someone's career in football coaching, the army were involved. Yeah, so just give you some idea of those. And basically, we're keeping the momentum going. So since Careers Week, which was a few weeks ago, still inputting all the student content in that. We've actually we've run a week of virtual mock interviews, and we did that through the Job Centre, which has been really good. And we're still having the odd guest speaker in. Some of them are now coming in actually to college, but most of them are still virtual. So yeah, we're just trying to keep that momentum going as much as possible. What we found is all the employers that engaged during our Careers and Apprenticeship Week, every single one of them has offered to do further support with us. And I would really suggest that, you know, if you get that you take them up on that, whatever capacity that might look like. We've had employers do everything from looking over CVs to getting involved in mock interviews to speaking to particular groups of students and stuff like that. So that's been really helpful. And the other thing we do is we encourage employers to keep us informed of any job or apprenticeship vacancies that they may have. So I get regular emails from employers about different jobs that they might have, and then we put that on the jobs board, which I'll show you a little bit in a minute. And yeah, if anyone's doing a presentation or record, yeah, if they're doing a session, record everything so that you can make the slides or the videos accessible to learners later. And that's something that we've done and has proved popular as well for those learners that didn't engage perhaps during those weeks. So how we do that is we use Google Classroom at Eastleigh College. So I've just highlighted kind of the jobs board and the Careers and Work Experience Week, which is Careers Week. There's obviously other things on there as well, but we keep those up to date. So the Careers and Work Experience Week one is where we put all the live recordings and the videos and everything that we did during the Careers and Apprenticeship Week. So those are available for learners to look at retrospectively, and employers, and tutors can run them in tutorials and stuff like that as well. So they're all there if they want to be accessed. And then the jobs board, which I've highlighted, that's where we put any job adverts that we get to hear about, and students have access to that. So those that are looking for jobs and apprenticeships or volunteering, it includes everything there. We post on there, and that's proving to be really successful as well. So that's all I wanted to say really. So does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? I incorrectly said we're going to move into breakout rooms, but actually time is not with us this morning. So I think we'll just go for a group discussion. Thank you. That was really helpful. That was a very comprehensive programme. Just to get the discussions going, you know, what have you learned around, you know, top tips for moving this sort of delivery into a virtual environment? You know, top tips, and what are the, you know, some of the things you've learned and some of the lessons learned. That would be really helpful, I think. Trudy, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. For us, we struggled in the beginning with which platforms to use, because everyone seems to be using a different platform. Some tutors prefer Microsoft Teams, some tutors prefer to use Google Classroom, and where we had organised speakers kind of during the first lockdown, we were really struggling with whether it was our IT systems, I don't know, but we struggled with Teams and with Google Classroom in getting outside speakers joined in. So we bit the bullet and bought Zoom, which I know is not everyone's idea, but we purchased the cheapest version of Zoom that we could, that didn't have restrictions, and that worked really, really well. It's very easy to use, as you know, because we're using it now. Employers, I had a couple of employers that had never used it before, so I gave them a couple of, you know, lessons sort of 10 minutes before about how to use it and share their screen and stuff like that. But that was really useful, and that's probably the thing I learned most, is that you know, Teams and is really great, but we have really struggled as a college to get outside agencies linked in, and whether that's our IT systems, I don't know, but it was just so much easier to have everything on one platform that we were in control of. You know, always make sure that you've got at least one member of staff involved in every call as well, from a safeguarding point of view. But actually we found that the teachers were as engaged as the learners a lot of the time, so we weren't short of staff being involved at all. Yeah, and when you do it through Zoom, you can record everything onto the cloud, so that was really helpful, and then that's how we've downloaded everything to put in our own Google Classroom for our students to access later. So that for us was the biggest learning curve, I think.
Yeah, because sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because we use Teams, and we did have quite a few issues actually initially with Teams, technically, just trying to get the remote presenters to actually be able to present and things like that. But we actually worked it out after about 4 or 5 hours. So it took ages, but it actually worked. We found that because we did a similar sort of thing during our careers week, and we found it worked really well. And obviously we followed a similar format, you know, using personal contacts worked very well. So we got quite a few speakers that way, but we've kind of got used to Teams now. And I think for the students here, they're using Teams not only in their, you know, careers related stuff, but also their learning. So they're quite familiar with it. So I think once people get familiar with it, and, you know, but I agree, Zoom is probably easier to use.
Yeah, we just wanted to go for something that was quite straightforward. Certainly I struggle with Teams myself. When I'm working from home, my laptop, for some reason, it just doesn't seem to like Teams either.
It's resource heavy. Teams is more of your memory on your computer, so you get more laggy, whereas Zoom's a little bit more efficient that way.
Yeah, because it's all linked to the cloud, and yeah, so we purchased Zoom. I don't regret doing that for a second, because we've used it so much. We've used it for all the mock interviews now, and of course for many employers in terms of interviewing and things like that, it would be Zoom that they'd be more likely to use. That's the feedback that we've had from the employers that we've used, not all, but some. So that's why we went with Zoom. But yeah, we just struggle with.
What I have found, I'll just add to that, is that instant messaging, I guess whatever platform you use, seems to work a lot better with communicating with students than actually emails, because a lot of them don't read their emails, or, you know, and you just say, oh, but you haven't replied. But instant messaging, I'm getting, you know, almost instant contact sometimes, instant communication.
Yeah.
So it just seems to work better. You know, just
Google Hangouts is great for that. I do a lot of my virtual one-to-ones on Google Hangouts. That works quite well.
Great. Any more questions? Any more points of learning you want to share? No. Well, thank you. That was really helpful. That was a good range of presentations this morning. So if we haven't got any further questions, and I'm conscious that we are 10 minutes, nearly 10 minutes over time, but you know, I didn't want to stop the flow. Thank you everybody for joining us this morning. And the next meeting will be the 2nd of July, and we will allow a little bit more time for that one because it will be the end of term, and we do like to try and push the boat out on that. So good morning everybody, and thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
You're still recording.